Hey there. Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going back to 19th century Germany to explore the life of a true scientific powerhouse, Hermann von Helmholtz.
Ah,
Now,
yes.
this
They
guy,
kind
yeah, this guy wasn't just brilliant, he was like a one-man scientific revolution,
Sure.
making waves in fields from physics and medicine to philosophy.
I think, it's interesting. What really sets Helmholtz apart is this ability to weave these seemingly separate disciplines together.
Yeah.
He didn't just dabble,
Mhm.
He found these amazing connections between physics,
Yeah.
human perception, even the nature of reality itself.
We've got excerpts from his biography ready to go. So let's unpack this, shall we? I'm really curious to see what made this guy tick.
All right, let's rewind the clock to 1821. Imagine Potsdam, Germany,
Mm-hmm.
a city buzzing with intellectual energy. This is where young Hermann enters the scene, born to a headmaster deeply rooted in philosophy. Talk about an upbringing steeped in big ideas.
I mean, that's got to shape a young mind, right? Surrounded by these deep philosophical discussions. But I'm guessing his dad, being a headmaster, probably had some practical career aspirations for him.
You're spot on. Young Hermann was naturally drawn to science, but his father, ever the pragmatist, steered him towards medicine. It's funny how these parental nudges can lead to these unexpected paths, isn't it?
Totally. Sometimes those paths turn out to be more exciting than we could have imagined. So we've got a budding physician with a philosophical foundation. Where does the scientific revolution begin?
Well, this is where things take a fascinating turn. Picture Helmholtz, a young doctor,
Yeah.
studying muscle metabolism. It seems pretty straightforward, right?
Uh-huh.
But he starts to question this prevailing idea of vital forces,
Mm-hmm.
this mysterious energy source driving living things.
Vital forces. It sounds almost mystical. I guess back then it was easier to attribute life's mysteries to some unknown force.
Exactly. But Helmholtz wasn't buying it. He saw a connection between the work of pioneers like Sadi Carnot, who was studying heat engines, and James Joule, who was exploring the relationship between mechanical work and heat. These were radical ideas at the time, but Helmholtz saw a bigger picture emerging.
Okay, so he's piecing together these seemingly unrelated bits of research. What's the big aha moment?
In 1847, he drops this bombshell treatise on the conservation of force. And this wasn't just some academic paper. It shook the foundations of science.
Wow.
Helmholtz was saying energy, whether it's mechanical, heat, light, or whatever, it's all the same force, just manifesting in different forms.
Hold on, so he's saying energy can't just magically appear or disappear. It has to transform from one form to another. That's huge, like the first law of thermodynamics.
Well, you got it. He basically lays down the law of energy conservation, which to this day is a cornerstone of physics. And think about this. It all stemmed from studying muscles. It just goes to show that groundbreaking discoveries can come from the most unexpected places.
Talk about a light bulb moment.
Okay.
If we've got energy figured out, at least the basics, what's next on Helmholtz's scientific hit list?
Well, his interests expanded in a way that even back then must have seemed incredible. In 1851, he unveils this invention that catapults him to fame and revolutionizes the field of ophthalmology. The ophthalmoscope.
Wait, the ophthalmoscope. The thing eye doctors use to peek into your eyeballs. He invented that.
The very same. Before the ophthalmoscope, the inside of the eye was a complete mystery. Helmholtz cracks this wide open, allowing doctors to actually see the retina and diagnose eye conditions that were previously impossible to detect.
That's a game changer, not just for medicine, but for our understanding of vision itself. It's like he opened a window into one of our most vital senses.
It's a pivotal moment. But Helmholtz doesn't stop there. The ophthalmoscope becomes his springboard into the world of sensory physiology. He becomes fascinated by how our senses actually work, how physics and perception intertwine.
I'm starting to see a pattern here. Helmholtz takes a deep dive into one field, and it leads him to these incredible discoveries in other seemingly unrelated areas. It's like he's connecting the dots of knowledge in a way no one had ever done before.
And it's all driven by this insatiable curiosity, this need to understand not just the what, but the how and the why. His magnum opus, the Handbook of Physiological Optics, explores everything from depth perception and color vision to how our eyes perceive motion.
So he's laying the groundwork for how we understand vision, literally changing the way we see the world.
Exactly. And, in the world of science, groundbreaking discoveries often lead to some pretty intense debates.
Yeah.
Helmholtz found himself in the midst of one with another prominent physiologist, Ewald Hering.
Oh, this sounds juicy. What were they clashing over?
Their views on spatial and color vision were fundamentally different. And let me tell you, these weren't just polite disagreements. They went head-to-head, challenging each other's theories and pushing the boundaries of scientific understanding.
So like a scientific showdown. That's got to be good for science, right? This clash of brilliant minds.
Absolutely. Think of it like iron sharpening iron. These debates, as heated as they might have been, forced both Helmholtz and Hering to refine their arguments, leading to new experiments and ultimately a deeper understanding of vision.
Okay, we've got energy and vision covered. Two massive contributions to science already. What's next in Helmholtz's journey of scientific exploration?
Well, he sets his sights on a mystery that had baffled scientists for centuries, the nervous system. Back then, it was widely believed that nerve signals traveled instantaneously, like flipping a switch, instant communication.
Instantaneously? Really? But how could they be sure? It all happened so fast.
That's the thing. No one had figured out a way to measure it. But Helmholtz, ever the innovator, comes up with this ingenious experiment involving a frog's sciatic nerve, a galvanometer, and a beam of light. It was groundbreaking for its time.
A frog's nerve and a beam of light. That sounds more like something out of Frankenstein's lab than a scientific experiment, but I'm guessing he proved them wrong.
Oh, he did. Not only did he prove that nerve signals don't travel instantaneously, but he actually measured their speed.
Wait, he actually clocked the speed of a nerve impulse. So how fast are we talking? Like the speed of light?
Not quite the speed of light, but still incredibly fast, especially for the technology available at the time. He discovered that nerve signals zip along at speeds ranging from 24.6 to 38.4 meters per second.
Wow, that's still pretty zippy. It's like he cracked the code of the nervous system, revealing the speed at which our bodies communicate with themselves.
And this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
You see, Helmholtz doesn't just make these isolated discoveries. They all feed into this larger tapestry of his scientific understanding. He's constantly weaving together knowledge from different fields, finding connections that no one else sees.
So we've got energy, vision, nerves. What else is there? Don't tell me he cured the common cold, too.
Well, maybe not the common cold, but he does make some groundbreaking contributions to acoustics. And our understanding of sound, in 1863, he publishes Sensations of Tone, a work that would have a profound impact on the field of musicology.
Music? Really? So this guy who's revolutionizing physics, medicine, and physiology is also a music buff?
He was a true polymath, fascinated by the science behind music, how we perceive and interpret sound. In Sensations of Tone, he delves into the physics of sound perception, explores how we hear and interpret complex sounds, and even invents a device called the Helmholtz resonator.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What does this resonator thingy do?
The Helmholtz resonator is pretty clever, actually. It allows you to break down complex sounds into their pure tonal components. It's like taking a musical chord and separating it into its individual notes.
That sounds like something straight out of a recording studio. But didn't this resonator have something to do with the invention of the telephone? That's a pretty big leap from music to telephones, right?
Oh, it's a story that even Helmholtz couldn't have predicted. You see, Alexander Graham Bell, who couldn't read German, stumbled upon Helmholtz's diagrams of the resonator. But because of the language barrier, he completely misinterpreted what he was seeing.
Wait, so Bell thought the resonator was doing something it wasn't. What did he think it was doing?
Bell thought Helmholtz was transmitting multiple frequencies over wires simultaneously. This sparked his own idea for something he called the harmonic telegraph, a device he believed could transmit multiple messages at once.
So a misunderstanding led to the telephone. That's incredible. It's like a scientific game of telephone. Only this one led to a technological revolution.
It's amazing how these seemingly unrelated events can converge and lead to such groundbreaking inventions. And in a way, it's a testament to the power of scientific curiosity and the unexpected paths it can lead us down.
Helmholtz's story is blowing my mind. He's like a scientific Forrest Gump, popping up at all these pivotal moments in history. But we've only scratched the surface of his journey, haven't we?
We've got so much more to uncover. Next time, we'll dive deeper into Helmholtz's later career in Berlin, his groundbreaking work in electromagnetism, and of course, his fascinating philosophical explorations.
I can't wait. Join us next time as we continue to unpack the incredible life and legacy of Hermann von Helmholtz. You won't want to miss it. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of Hermann von Helmholtz. Last time we left off with Helmholtz making waves in fields like energy conservation, vision, even the speed of nerve impulses. It's mind-boggling how much this one guy accomplished.
It really is remarkable. But you know what truly sets Helmholtz apart? Is his constant drive to push beyond the boundaries of traditional science. He wasn't content with just making discoveries. He wanted to understand the deeper philosophical implications of his work.
Right. We touched on his philosophical ideas last time, and I'm really keen to dig into those a bit more. It's not every day you find a scientist who's also a deep thinker about the nature of reality.
Absolutely. Helmholtz was fascinated by the relationship between the laws of perception, how we experience the world, and the laws of nature, the underlying principles governing the universe. He believed our senses weren't just passively recording information, they were actively shaping our experience.
So it's like our brains are adding their own spin on things. We're not just seeing the world as it is, we're interpreting it through our own internal filters.
Exactly. He called this process unconscious inference. Our brains are constantly making these tiny unconscious calculations, using cues from our senses to construct a model of the world around us.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it, but can you give me a concrete example? How does this unconscious inference thing actually work?
We'll take depth perception, for example. We don't directly see depth. Our brains infer it from cues like perspective, shading, and the slight differences in the images received by each eye.
Oh, right, like when you hold your thumb out and close one eye,
Yeah.
then the other, and it seems to jump back and forth. Our brains are using those two slightly different images to figure out how far away things are.
That's a great example. And Helmholtz believed this process of unconscious inference applies to all our senses: sight, sound, touch, smell, taste. Our brains are constantly weaving together information from all these different sources, creating a cohesive experience of the world.
So it's like our reality is a kind of internal simulation constructed by our brains. That's pretty mind-blowing.
It is mind-blowing when you think about it. And it challenges this idea of naive realism, the assumption that our senses simply mirror reality. Helmholtz showed that our perception of reality is inherently subjective, shaped by the structure of our minds and the way our brains process information.
And this leads to another fascinating aspect of Helmholtz's philosophical thinking, his questioning of Euclidean geometry as the only way to understand space. Didn't he have some pretty radical ideas about that?
He did. Euclidean geometry, the kind we learn in school, is based on flat surfaces and straight lines. It works great for describing everyday objects and spaces. But Helmholtz wondered if there might be other equally valid ways of understanding space, geometries that could account for the complexities of the universe.
Wait, are we talking about non-Euclidean geometries here? Like the
Right.
kind of mind-bending stuff Einstein used in his theory of relativity?
You got it. Helmholtz was way ahead of his time. He argued that space might not be absolute, but relative to the observer's frame of reference, and that different geometries might be needed to describe different aspects of reality.
Okay, now my brain is starting to hurt a little. Can you give me an analogy to help wrap my head around this non-Euclidean stuff?
Sure. Imagine you're looking at a map of the world. On a flat map, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. But if you were actually flying between those points, you'd follow a curved path, because the Earth is a sphere. That's kind of like the difference between Euclidean and non-Euclidean geometry. Euclidean geometry works on flat surfaces, but the universe might be more like a curved surface where the rules are different.
Ah, that makes sense. So it's like the way we perceive space might not be the only way or even the most accurate way.
Exactly. Helmholtz opened up a whole new way of thinking about space and reality. And while he didn't have the mathematical tools to fully develop these ideas, his insights laid the groundwork for later developments in physics and mathematics, including Einstein's theory of relativity.
So Helmholtz wasn't just making groundbreaking discoveries. He was challenging the very foundation of how we understand the world around us. That's incredible.
It is incredible. And what's even more remarkable is how he connected his philosophical ideas with his scientific work. For example, his research on vision and perception directly informed his views on the nature of experience and the limitations of human knowledge.
So it's like he was constantly weaving together different threads of knowledge, creating this rich tapestry of understanding that spanned multiple disciplines.
Precisely. He saw science and philosophy not as separate domains, but as interconnected pathways to a deeper understanding of the world. And this interdisciplinary approach is one of the most enduring aspects of his legacy.
I'm starting to see why Helmholtz is considered such a visionary figure. But how do his ideas hold up in today's world? Are they still relevant in the 21st century?
Absolutely. In fact, in some ways, his work is more relevant than ever.
Really? How so? I'm dying to know.
Well, think about how much of our lives are now mediated through technology and digital interfaces. We're constantly bombarded with information, and our brains are working overtime to filter, interpret, and make sense of it all.
Right. It's like we're drowning in a sea of information overload. Sometimes it feels like my brain is going to explode.
Helmholtz's insights into perception and the nature of experience can help us understand how our brains are adapting to this digital onslaught. His work on unconscious inference, the role of innate principles in shaping our experience, and the possibility of multiple perspectives on reality are crucial for navigating this increasingly complex technological landscape.
So his work can help us make sense of the digital world we live in.
Exactly. And as we grapple with complex challenges like artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and the nature of consciousness, Helmholtz's ideas about perception, the limits of human knowledge, and the relationship between our minds and the world around us are more relevant than ever.
This is seriously blowing my mind. It's like Helmholtz was a time traveler from the future, dropping these bombshells of knowledge that are only starting to make sense now.
It's amazing how his insights continue to resonate across different fields and time periods. He was a true visionary thinker who pushed the boundaries of human understanding and left a legacy that continues to inspire and challenge us today.
Well, I'm definitely feeling inspired and maybe a little overwhelmed by the sheer brilliance of this guy. We've covered so much ground already, from energy and vision to nerve impulses and the philosophy of perception, but there's still more to uncover, right?
There is. Next time, we'll delve into Helmholtz's lasting impact on science and explore how his ideas continue to shape our understanding of the world today.
I can't wait. Be sure to join us for the final part of our deep dive into the extraordinary life and legacy of Hermann von Helmholtz. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of Hermann von Helmholtz. I don't know about you, but my brain is still buzzing from our last conversation. We've journeyed from his early days in Potsdam to his revolutionary work on energy, vision, even the speed of nerve impulses. And then there's his philosophical side, which is just as fascinating as his scientific discoveries.
Yeah, it's truly remarkable how Helmholtz's work continues to resonate. More than a century after his death, his ideas were so ahead of their time. It's like he was peering into the future of science and laying the groundwork for fields that wouldn't even exist for decades.
So let's talk about that lasting impact. What are some concrete examples of how Helmholtz's work is still relevant in the 21st century? I'm ready to have my mind blown again.
Okay, well, let's start with something fundamental: energy conservation. Remember how Helmholtz challenged the idea of vital forces and showed that energy can't be created or destroyed, only transformed from one form to another. That principle, which he formulated while studying muscles, is now a cornerstone of modern physics. It governs everything from the tiniest subatomic particles to the vast expanse of the universe.
It's wild to think that an idea that came from studying the human body is now used to explain how stars are born and galaxies evolve. It's like Helmholtz discovered a universal truth hidden within us.
Yeah, and his invention of the ophthalmoscope, still an essential tool in ophthalmology. Hard to imagine modern eye care without it. It's given us this incredible ability to diagnose and treat eye conditions that were once shrouded in mystery.
It's like he gave us a window into the soul, revealing the intricate workings of one of our most precious senses.
And don't forget his work on perception, especially his ideas about unconscious inference. They're more relevant than ever in our digital age. We're constantly bombarded with information, and our brains are working overtime to filter, interpret, and make sense of it all. Helmholtz's insights help us understand how we navigate this complex world of information overload.
Right. It's like he anticipated the challenges of our hyper-connected world, where we're constantly scrolling, clicking, and trying to make sense of the digital deluge.
Exactly. And as we delve deeper into the realms of artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and even the study of consciousness, Helmholtz's ideas about the nature of perception, the limits of human knowledge, and the relationship between our minds and the external world become increasingly important.
So in a way, Helmholtz's legacy is not just about specific discoveries, but about a way of thinking. This interdisciplinary approach, this willingness to question assumptions and explore the unknown.
Absolutely. He showed us the power of connecting seemingly disparate ideas, of weaving together knowledge from different fields to create a richer, more nuanced understanding of the world. And that's a lesson that's more valuable than ever in our increasingly specialized world.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the life and work of Hermann von Helmholtz, what's the one thing you hope our listeners will take away from this journey?
I think the most important takeaway is the power of curiosity. Helmholtz was driven by this insatiable desire to understand the world around him, to unravel the mysteries of nature and the human mind. And that curiosity led him to make groundbreaking discoveries that continue to shape our understanding of the universe and ourselves.
Beautifully said. And for our listeners who are eager to learn more about Helmholtz and his incredible contributions, we'll be sure to include some great resources in the show notes.
Yeah, there's a wealth of information out there. Biographies, scientific papers, philosophical treatises, even musical analyses inspired by his work on acoustics. So dive in, explore, and let Helmholtz's spirit of inquiry guide you on your own intellectual adventures.
I think that's a perfect note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the extraordinary life and legacy of Hermann von Helmholtz. Until next time, keep those brains buzzing and never stop exploring